In December of 1973, a man named Claude Vorillon walked into a small park in France, a man whose life and beliefs were about to change the world forever. Claude wasn't famous, he wasn't powerful. In fact, he was a man of many failures, a musician who couldn't find an audience, a race car driver who never made the podium, and a dreamer searching for purpose. But on that cold December morning, Claude claimed something extraordinary happened. He said a flying saucer landed right before his eyes. From that craft stepped a small, human-like being, with green-tinted skin, fine features, and a pointed goatee. The being told Claude that it came from a race known as the Elohim, advanced beings who had mastered the art of genetic engineering long before humans. The alien claimed that they, the Elohim, were the creators of all life on Earth. Every tree, every animal, and even humanity itself were their experiments. They had watched humans evolve from afar, waiting for the moment when humanity would be wise enough to meet them again. But first, humans would need to build them something, an embassy. According to Claude, that embassy would be the place where the Elohim would return, not as invaders but as teachers, ready to reveal secrets of science and immortality. Before leaving, the alien gave Claude a new name, Rael, and a mission: spread their message and prepare humanity for their return. When Rael returned, people listened. Some laughed, others were curious, and a few believed every word. By 1976, Rael founded the Raelian movement. He began touring the world, preaching that science, not religion, held the key to creation, and somehow the message spread, from Paris to Tokyo, from Canada to Brazil. By the mid-1990s, there were tens of thousands of followers. Today, that number has grown to over 130,000 members across 120 countries. To the Raelians, their mission is simple: build the embassy and prepare for the arrival of their creators. But to outsiders, it's a movement that dances between science fiction and faith. But their fascination with creation didn't stop at mythology. It reached the laboratory. In 1997, Rael's followers launched Clonaid, a biotech company with one goal: to clone the first human being. Then, in 2002, they made a shocking announcement. They claimed they had successfully cloned a human baby named Eve. The world erupted. Some scientists were skeptical. Some religious leaders called it blasphemy, and journalists demanded proof. But proof never came. No photos, no parents, no hospital, nothing. Just Rael's smile and a cult that celebrated the birth of a new humanity. Over the years, Clonaid claimed to have cloned dozens more humans. Still, no evidence ever surfaced. Yet the Raelians believed, because for them, it wasn't about proof, it was about faith in science as divinity. In Rael's teachings, Jesus, Moses, and Muhammad were all prophets sent by the Elohim, and now Rael himself was their modern messenger. Half a century later, Rael's followers still wait for the day their creators descend once more from the stars. And until that day, they continue to raise funds, hold ceremonies, and dream of the moment humanity meets its makers, not in heaven, but from the sky. Hollywood, a city where every dreamer believes they're one audition away from fame. But for a small group of hopeful actors, their search for enlightenment would lead them straight into the arms of a man who would control their every thought. His name was Michel Rostand, a man who claimed to have the power to awaken souls. But to his students, he would become something more, something divine. Michel always wanted to be famous. He tried acting, he tried modeling, but nothing stuck. By the 1980s, he began teaching acting classes in Florida, and that's when things took a strange turn. Between lessons on emotion and stage presence, Michel started slipping in his own philosophy, words about energy, meditation, and divine purpose. He spoke of a mysterious guru who had shown him the truth, a spiritual being who opened his mind to cosmic energy. But no one ever met this guru. No photos, no records, just Michel's stories. And his students, desperate for direction, believed him. By the mid-1980s, Michel rebranded himself completely. He called himself Michel the Enlightened, and his acting school became a spiritual movement. He called it the Buddha Field. Soon, Michel and his followers moved to West Hollywood. They lived near each other, worked together, and built what looked like a family. But behind the peace and light was control. Every member contributed money to the group. Everyone, except Michel. He lived off his disciples, who worshipped him like a god. Michel claimed that serving him was part of their spiritual cleansing, that devotion to him was devotion to the universe, and they believed him. Every weekend he held private cleansing sessions. Each cost $50. He said these sessions removed emotional blockages, that his touch and words could heal them. But the truth was far more scientific. Michel wasn't channeling divine energy. He was a licensed hypnotherapist, and through hypnosis he made his followers confess every secret, their fears, their desires, their shame. He stored it all and used it to control them. He told them who to love, who to avoid, and when to sleep. Romantic relationships were forbidden. Friendships outside the group were banned. Leaving Buddha Field wasn't just discouraged, it was betrayal. Over time, their world shrank. Their only family was Michel. Their only truth was Buddha Field. Then, in 1993, a tragedy from far away shattered his illusion of peace. After the Waco, Texas cult siege, Michel became paranoid. He believed the government would come for him next. He ordered followers to hide evidence, destroy records, and cut all contact with their families. His paranoia consumed them. Then came the revelation that would tear Buddha Field apart. In 2006, a former member discovered the truth, Michel's hypnotherapy license. They sent an email to every follower. That single message exposed everything: the hypnosis, the manipulation, the lies. Buddha Field split in half. Some refused to believe it. Others finally woke up. Many left. But a few stayed. They couldn't imagine life without him. To them, he was still divine. After the scandal, Michel fled to Hawaii. He took his most loyal followers with him and rebuilt Buddha Field in paradise. Today, he still lives there, leading yoga sessions, preaching love and purity. But to those who escaped, the truth remains clear. The man who promised enlightenment didn't free their souls. He hypnotized them into giving it away. It began in an ordinary kitchen, in an ordinary home, with an extraordinary claim. In 1977, a woman named Judy Zebra Knight said she came face to face with a spirit. Not an angel, not a ghost, but a warrior from 35,000 years ago. She said the figure appeared out of pure light, tall, radiant, and surrounded by an energy she could feel vibrating through the air. The being called himself Ramtha, the Enlightened One. According to Judy, Ramtha told her he had once been a warrior on the lost continent of Atlantis. He had learned the secret to mastering reality itself, the power of thought. And now, he had chosen Judy to deliver his message to the world. Through trance-like sessions, Judy claimed that Ramtha spoke through her. Her posture changed, her accent shifted, her voice, normally soft, became deep and commanding. In those moments, she said, she was no longer Judy Knight. She was Ramtha. By the late 1970s, Judy began holding public channeling sessions. Word spread fast. To her followers, Ramtha wasn't just a spirit. He was proof that humans could reach godlike consciousness. And Judy? She was the bridge between the divine and the mortal. By 1988, Judy founded the Ramtha School of Enlightenment in Yelm, Washington. She called it a university for the soul. Students paid up to $1,500 per retreat to learn how to unlock their hidden powers. Some even moved across the country to live near her compound. Ramtha's lessons mixed mysticism with science, quantum energy, thought vibration, and time manipulation. She taught that humans were gods in disguise, capable of bending reality with their minds. It was a message that inspired thousands and blinded just as many. Over time, Ramtha's teachings grew darker. Through Judy's body, Ramtha began to make frightening predictions: floods, plagues, and apocalyptic warnings. One day, she warned of a massive flood that would destroy the coast. She told her followers to flee to higher ground. Over 1,500 people obeyed, abandoning their homes, their jobs, and their families. But no flood ever came. Her teachings began to drift from the mystical into the bizarre. Ramtha spoke of lizard people living inside mountains, plotting to enslave humanity. He warned that those who left the school might be hunted by them. Fear became the glue that kept followers close. Some of her followers had serious medical conditions. Judy told them that through Ramtha's power they could heal themselves. No doctors needed. Many never recovered. Some passed away. To outsiders, Judy Knight had turned belief into business. To her followers, she was their only path to eternal life. Today, Judy, now in her 70s, still runs the Ramtha School of Enlightenment. Her followers still gather in Yelm, Washington, and in over 35 countries around the world. And even now, she still channels Ramtha, her voice dropping, her body trembling, claiming to speak the words of a man long dead. To some, she's a fraud. To others, she's a prophet. But either way, Judy Knight built a bridge between the ancient and the modern and convinced thousands to cross it. It began not in a church or a temple, but in a bathroom. A single moment of divine revelation that would soon transform into one of Australia's most controversial cults. In 1999, Serge Ben Hayen, a former tennis coach, claimed he experienced something extraordinary while using the restroom. He said he suddenly felt a warm energy rise through his body, an awakening that revealed the secrets of the universe. That moment, he said, marked the birth of a new healing movement. He called it universal medicine. At first glance, it seemed harmless. A simple healing organization teaching energy work, meditation, and self-love. But under the soft music and glowing candles lay something far stranger. Serge claimed that every illness, every pain, every disorder was a punishment from past lives. He told followers that people born with disabilities were dictators or corrupt leaders reincarnated to suffer for their sins. He said those who judged others would return as broken souls, trapped in diseased bodies. But his strangest teachings weren't about people. They were about food. He told followers that certain foods carry dark energy: carrots, potatoes, and cinnamon. He said they could poison the body and invite evil spirits in. And the cure was to burp them out. To outsiders, it was absurd. But to Serge's followers, it was liberation. And that belief made him powerful and rich. Soon, universal medicine grew into a multi-million-dollar empire. Serge offered workshops, retreats, and esoteric healing sessions. Each cost hundreds, some thousands of dollars. His followers bought everything, from herbal teas to healing creams, all designed to cleanse the body's energy. Many swore they felt lighter afterward. They said he healed their trauma, their pain, even their cancer. But some who questioned his methods were told something terrifying. Serge said that skeptics, people who doubted him, would be punished in their next lives by giving birth to children with Down syndrome. This manipulation broke families apart. He convinced parents to cut ties with loved ones, saying they carried dark karma. Even the dying were targeted. Serge's followers were told not to leave their money to family, that doing so would damage their kidney energy in the next life. Instead, they were told to donate it all to universal medicine. One woman left $1.4 million. Her family fought back, and so did one journalist who refused to stay silent. Her name was Esther Rocket, a journalist turned investigator who decided to infiltrate universal medicine. She attended one of Serge's healing sessions, and what she saw haunted her. Esther said dozens lay on tables in a pitch-dark room, screaming and trembling as if possessed. She called it an exorcism disguised as therapy. When she exposed what she saw, Serge's followers turned on her. In 2015, Universal Medicine sued her for defamation. But during the trial, witnesses came forward. Former members testified about financial manipulation, emotional abuse, and spiritual threats. The court sided with Esther. The jury ruled that Universal Medicine was a socially harmful cult built on deception. Serge Ben Hayan was ordered to pay Esther over $1.2 million in damages. But even that didn't end it. Serge wasn't criminally charged. His retreats still run today, and followers still burp away their demons, one breath, one lie at a time. What began as one man's bathroom revelation became a movement built on fear, control, and profit. Proof that sometimes evil hides behind the gentlest of voices. Yes, burping, loudly, proudly, spiritually. Followers called it energetic clearing. They believed that every belch expelled a negative entity, a ghostly parasite that fed on bad energy. In America's Bible Belt, faith isn't just a belief, it's a lifestyle. And one woman discovered how to turn that devotion into domination. In 1986, Gwen Shamblin, a dietitian from Tennessee, launched something new, a fitness program that promised not just a thinner body, but a holier soul. She called it the Way Down Workshop. The program was simple: eat less, pray more, and if you were still overweight, it wasn't your stomach that was weak, it was your faith. To Gwen, overeating was a spiritual failure, a sign that you loved food more than God. Her charisma was undeniable. She mixed scripture with psychology, blending discipline and devotion into a single message. Thoughtful. If you want to please God, emphatic, you must control your appetite. By the 1990s, Gwen became a national celebrity. Her workshop spread to over 30,000 churches in more than 70 countries. Millions of copies of her program were sold. But what began as a diet soon turned into a doctrine, and Gwen wanted more than followers. She wanted control. In 1999, Gwen bought a vast piece of land and built her empire's new home, the Remnant Fellowship. To outsiders, it looked like a church, but to those inside, it became something much more restrictive. She invited her Way Down followers to move onto the land, promising a community of purity, health, and eternal salvation. Families sold their homes. Followers quit their jobs. They built their lives entirely around Gwen's vision. Soon, the fellowship grew into a self-sustaining city. There were remnant businesses, a school, a real estate company, even a construction firm. And at the center of it all stood Gwen, not just as a preacher, but as a ruler. Every aspect of a member's life was controlled. What they ate, how they raised their kids, even how they spoke to outsiders. If you obeyed, you were blessed. If you questioned Gwen, you were warned. And if you left, you lost everything. Leaving meant exile. It meant losing your church, your job, your friends, sometimes even your family. And then, her teachings turned dark. Gwen told parents that disobedient children must be punished, harshly. She said strict discipline was proof of godly parenting, but that advice would lead to tragedy. In 2003, an Atlanta couple, devoted remnant members, took her words literally. Their child didn't survive. The parents were convicted and sentenced to 30 years in prison. Investigators found that Gwen had personally supported them, even paying for their legal defense. Critics called for her arrest. They said her teachings were directly responsible. In 2003, an Atlanta couple, devoted remnant members, took her words literally. Their child didn't survive. The parents were convicted and sentenced to 30 years in prison. Investigators found that Gwen had personally supported them, even paying for their legal defense. Critics called for her arrest. They said her teachings were directly responsible. As her followers tightened their belts and prayed for weight loss, Gwen lived lavishly. Her wealth, her image, and her faith merged into one brand, Gwen Shamblin, God's diet prophet. But in May of 2021, the unthinkable happened. Gwen Shamblin's private plane crashed into a lake near Nashville. All 7 people aboard were killed, including Gwen, her husband, and top church leaders. For a moment, it seemed her empire would crumble. But it didn't. Her children stepped in, taking over leadership of the fellowship, and the church continued. Same message, same methods, same control. Today, the Remnant Fellowship still stands in Brentwood, Tennessee. Its sermons stream online. Its followers still gather weekly. To the faithful, Gwen Shamblin was a messenger of God. To critics, she was a false prophet who turned hunger into holiness and devotion into obedience. They called it Rajneeshpuram, a utopian city born from faith, free love, and rebellion. It was supposed to be a paradise of peace. Instead, it became a war zone. In the 1970s, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, later known as Osho, began teaching meditation in India. He preached about enlightenment through freedom from guilt, religion, and repression. Thousands flocked to him, intellectuals, hippies, and spiritual seekers all looking for liberation. It was the 1970s, the age of spiritual revolution, and Rajneesh became its superstar. But fame brought enemies. When his unorthodox teachings angered traditional leaders in India, he left for America. In 1981, Rajneesh and his followers bought 60,000 acres of land in Oregon. There, they built an entire city from scratch, restaurants, roads, even an airport. They named it Rajneeshpuram. But not everyone was celebrating. Locals saw them as invaders, strange outsiders in orange, speaking of free love and rejecting God. Tensions escalated. The commune's leaders feared eviction and plotted to survive at any cost. But not everyone was celebrating. Locals saw them as invaders, strange outsiders in orange, speaking of free love and rejecting God. Tensions escalated. The commune's leaders feared eviction and plotted to survive at any cost. But not everyone was celebrating. Locals saw them as invaders, strange outsiders in orange, speaking of free love and rejecting God. Tensions escalated. The commune's leaders feared eviction and plotted to survive at any cost. Hundreds fell ill. Dozens were hospitalized. The attack shocked the nation. The mastermind, Rajneesh's top aide Ma Anand Sheela, was arrested and imprisoned. Rajneesh himself was deported to India. He returned home and continued teaching until his death in 1990. But his movement never truly ended. Today, the Osho International Meditation Resort in Pune still operates, a monument to a man who preached peace but left behind chaos. While one cult faded, another rose, led by a man who called himself a living God. This was Swami Nithyananda. To his followers, he could perform miracles, levitation, teleportation, even summoning jewelry from thin air. He promised spiritual awakening and supernatural power. By the late 2000s, he had thousands of followers across 33 countries. He built luxury ashrams, universities, and a multi-million-dollar spiritual empire. But beneath the devotion, scandal. In 2010, shocking videos surfaced. leading to allegations of abuse, assault, and exploitation inside his ashram. He was arrested, then released on bail. More women came forward. More accusations followed. When a woman was found dead inside one of his compounds, annoyed outrage spread. Her parents demanded answers, but none came. As pressure mounted, whispering Nithyananda vanished. Years later, he reappeared online, declaring he had founded a new country. He called it Kailasa, the Republic of Enlightenment. Kailasa had a flag, passports, ministries, and a national anthem, but nobody knew where it actually was. Despite being a fugitive, Nithyananda still streams sermons online. His devotees call him Paramashiva, the Supreme Being. In 2023, a self-proclaimed ambassador of Kailasa even appeared at a United Nations event. Diplomats were baffled. The UN quietly ignored her. It might sound absurd, but behind the fantasy lies something dangerous. A man still controlling thousands, beyond the reach of law. And then came one of the most disturbing modern cults, a movement born not in temples or deserts, but online. Its founder was a computer scientist named Jack Loda, known online as Ziz. Her followers called themselves Zizians. What started as a philosophy blog became a cult of violence, ego, and chaos. Ziz preached that morality was an illusion, that violence could be justified in pursuit of a higher goal. Her followers believed it, and they acted on it. In California, Zizians attacked their landlord after losing an eviction case. He survived, barely, but they came back to finish the job. He didn't survive the second time. Soon after, Zizians committed more attacks across 3 states. A border patrol agent, a family, each crime committed in the name of their warped ideology. By early 2025, several members were captured, including Ziz herself. She was arrested in Maryland, but her movement still thrives online, spreading, recruiting, evolving. From spiritual deserts to cyberspace, the human hunger for belonging hasn't changed, only the methods have. Each of these cults promised freedom, yet each delivered the same thing: control. Manipulation doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it looks like community. Sometimes it sounds like healing. Sometimes it even feels like love. But when someone isolates you from family, drains your money, and threatens you for leaving, that isn't love. That's captivity. I'm the Evidence Room TV. Thank you for watching, and remember, truth isn't what you're told. It's what you find for yourself.